Hello everybody, this is Manu-S and welcome to my Eternal set review for the new set Defiance. I decided to do this in parts again like last time, but unlike last time I decided to just do one part per day. One part will contain one full page of cards from the new set, aka 12 cards, and then we'll just do that day by day till we're through. That both means it's going to be more manageable for me to do time-wise and workload-wise, and it also is going to be easier watchable, viewable for you guys, because you can just watch one part a day, which won't be too long of a video, so it's much easier to squeeze in a full day and just watch it somewhere in between, rather than like the full review of a color with 3 parts, which might take like close to an hour per color or whatever. And it's just a lot harder to do, and then I'll have to wait a couple days anyway, both to have the time to continue and for you guys to catch up with the stuff. So I figured this is a win-win for everyone and doesn't really have much downside other than that the people that have more time might have to wait a day or two longer to have seen all the review of a color rather than get the full color on one day. Okay, so first let me say the set is pretty cool and pretty exciting. It's like seems to be one of the like the deepest and most kind of complex set yet in the game, and makes me pretty excited for the future. They really ramped up the complexity in the game with this set and gave us through a lot new mechanics and even card types at us, and it will make the game much more interesting and intriguing, and especially the deck building and constructed with the new set going forward. So let's take a look at this pretty interesting and cool new set. We're gonna start with red as usual. First we have Meltdown. This card is a pretty nice market card. It's a spell, not a fast spell, so that's where it differs from Ruin, but where it also differs from Ruin is that it costs 0. So in a deck that cares about tempo, mainly an aggressive deck, this could be a great alternative to Boar, since playing a merchant and using it right away without needing any extra power, or even playing something else alongside the merchant and still getting to use the merchant card right away is great. And the cheaper a merchant card is, the better usually. And if you are aggressive and don't care about the sort of card advantage that Boar can provide, this is a great alternative and a pretty interesting card. In limited, however, this is, as usual, not something you want to put in your deck. Next we have Bottoms Up. It's a 1-cost trick that gives a unit +2 attack this turn as a fast spell and has Amplify, so it can buff further creatures. Basically, once you use the Amplify, it's basically worse than a Rally, because Rally gives it to all your units. This just gives it to 2 then, but the fact that you can play it for 1 is obviously a big upside. The problem, I think, is that this basically needs enough quick draw to even be worth it, because otherwise you're still kind of trading this and the unit or their unit, so that's not a great trade. So all in all, this is a pretty weak card. In limited it might make it in decks, but in constructed it's just pretty underpowered really. Okay, on to the next card, Cautious Traveler. That's kind of a cool card. Oh, sorry. You remember my old Praxis Sentinel aggro? That card fits right in. We have to check how many Sentinels there are potentially for turn 2, so this guy can attack immediately. But to be fair, even if it can't attack, it can still block. So that is the one thing, so you can still use it defensively. And the deck can at least drop a Sentinel on turn 3 a fair share of the time, so it can attack 1 turn delayed, and a 1-cost 2/2 that is an Explorer, which can be very meaningful in the deck. Could be interesting, but it might just fall short, also because we have 1-drops like the 1/1 Endurance that turns into a 3/3 and stuff, which also got a lot more interesting with a set that is heavily focusing around relics, so these relic synergy cards from before will have to be reevaluated. But yeah, outside of the context that I just mentioned, where the fact that it's an Explorer matters, and like the aggressive nature of this Sentinel deck that I recorded quite some time ago, this is not a great card. Even in limited, it's probably not that impressive. If you have enough sentinels, it might be fine, since if you're not that aggressive, playing a 2-drop for 1 mana, for 1 power, is pretty nice. So it could end up in a filler, as a filler in some decks. Next we have Research Assistant, a Grenadin that kind of wants you to be NF colors, which is kind of weird. I guess the primal matters for something like Canadians, but yeah. And sure, the time matters for something like Praxis tokens, but the like dedicated Grenadin thing usually wants you to be Stone Scar. And yeah, the ability is not great. You pay 2 to sacrifice it and get 3 power this turn, so you effectively get +1 power. And it's just a 1/1 for 1 that helps fix your influence a bit. Just a bit too underwhelming. Not sure if there's any payoff for what it does in limited yet, so it might be less bad there than it seems, but my guess is that it's also not gonna be something you want there either. Next we have Softfoot Burglar, another Explorer 1-drop. When you play a spell, Softfoot Burglar gets +1/+1, so another one of those units that cares about spells, which unfortunately is kind of problematic in Fire because they only have limited amounts of spells you want to be playing proactively. And the base stats are just weak. If it was a 1/2 or a 2/1, it would be pretty appealing, but as a 1/1 it's just kind of underpowered. And if you target it, you create and draw a treasure trove, which is a, I guess, a relic or a colorless spell. Not quite sure, I haven't played any yet. Might be just a colorless spell. Either way, you just draw a card. I think it's probably just a colorless spell that you get to play. So yeah, all in all, an okay card, but likely a bit too weak. The fact that it's an Explorer helps a bit. And yeah, even in limited, we had similar cards before, like the 1/1 that gets lifesteal, the spell guy in green. That was borderline playable as a filler in limited. This is probably mildly better because it replaces itself potentially if you can target it. That helps a bit. But yeah, not quite sure if that's going to be enough. Next we have Urn of Choking Embers. Urn of Choking Embers is pretty sweet actually because it's an amazing market card, and I think that's what it's meant to be. A great market card either in aggressive decks to make sure the opponent cannot stabilize and catch up by playing blockers, or against aggressive decks with a lot of charge to make sure these chargers don't hit you in the face. So definitely a nice tool to have available with markets and with merchants and smugglers. Then we have Conflagrate, pretty decent. We were kind of lacking some more red removal burn type stuff that was reasonable. We had the Into the Furnace with Grenadins, but that required Grenadins. Once we had Grenadins, it was pretty decent at dealing 4, but dealing 3 unconditional and also being fast is already a pretty solid deal, because we can't all be torches, you know. It's obviously also worse in the sense that it doesn't hit players. The Amplify is pretty expensive, so it's not super likely to come up, but I can see this as an option in red markets sometimes, as a means to have removal and also be card advantage removal later in the game. You might have seen me putting it in my Yennev mid-range market over Purify to try it out during the release stream 2 days ago. So, but yeah, other than that, the card is pretty marginal, mostly probably a market thing in some decks. In limited, however, this is a pretty great pick, solid removal that can be really powerful in the late game. Yeah. Next we have Fire Main Lioness, 2 cost 2/2, bit underpowered for constructed even with the Amplify. Amplify gets you a 1/1 Wildcat with charge, power spent, but we have better cards that do this, like we have the Disciple, which gives us a 1/1 Deadly, a 2/2 Flyer, or even a 3/3 Overwhelm, and the upside that you can get 2 1/1 chargers on 6 power really doesn't make up for that, I think. So yeah, card is gonna be relegated to limited, but in limited it's a pretty solid card, I think. Gaining a bunch of tokens late game or just being a decent 2-drop and just the general flexibility and power sink potential of this is pretty nice. Then we have Notorious Scoundrel, card we already talked about when it was spoiled. It's pretty high risk, high reward. It's a 2-1 for 2, so without the renown it's pretty weak. Once it's renowned it's pretty strong, but it's just too vulnerable and fragile still, I think, and wanted poster, like if the opponent would get like a treasure trove and would draw like 1 card, that would be acceptable, but them drawing 2 cards is just such a blowout that I don't think this can ultimately make it in the end, even though the fact that it's a gunslinger is a nice bonus in terms of tribal. And yeah, in limited it's probably about the same, and the draw 2 cards for your opponent is probably even worse in limited than in constructed. Then we have Oni Forge Master, another 2-cost 2/2. With renown you create and draw a +2/+1 weapon. The fact that it's an Oni and that it creates a cheap solid weapon might make it barely interesting in constructed for certain things like Oni tribal stuff and other renown or weapon concern stuff, because if you renown this you immediately get a card that enables another renown, and it is decently statted. Effectively you're getting 4/3 in stats from 1 card split over 2 cards. The fact that it costs 3 power and is conditional definitely dampens it. Not too likely that it's gonna do anything constructed, but it's not completely out of the question. In limited, however, this seems like a pretty great 2-drop for more aggressive decks for sure. Then we have Plunder. You exhaust 1 of your units to create and draw 2 treasure troves. That's a lot of work to draw 2 cards. You invest 6 power and exhaust 1 unit that cannot attack or block that turn. Most likely, unless it has endurance, then it can only not attack. To draw 2 cards, that seems like a pretty bad deal, and it's not even fast, so you can't use it at the end of the opposing turn when you don't really care about your power or the exhausted unit anymore, making this card very costly. Even in limited, I think this is pretty borderline, and in constructed it's unplayable. And last but not least, for part 1 of the fire cards, we have Dune Painter. Your amplify costs are reduced by 1, but it comes with a measly 2/2 body for 3, so that's not great. Also, it cannot reduce amplify costs below 1, which further weakens its power potential and impact. So yeah, I kinda doubt that there is much use for this card. The only interesting use would have been finding some strong, cheap amplify effect that you could reduce to 0 and then use as often as you want with this card, making up for the fact that you basically invest a card and 3 power into a non-body of a 2/2 in constructed that just doesn't do anything and doesn't have a relevant unit type or anything. So yeah, unfortunately not very impressive. In limited it might be fine if you have enough amplify, but even in limited a 3-cost 2/2 is like barely existent. This is like 2-drop material, not even a good 2-drop, just a filler 2-drop in terms of stats, so yeah. And amplify cost reduction is just kind of a bad form of power ramp, sort of. Like playing a power ramp will accomplish a lot of the same, not quite as much, but at much more payoff overall and much lower cost, so yeah. Pretty underwhelming card. Alright, that concludes part 1 of the fire cards. I will be back tomorrow with part 2 of the fire cards, and so on, and we work our way through this set as usual. Yeah, set is pretty cool. I'm really excited. I'm also gonna be live streaming again later, once I'm done editing and uploading these videos, so you can catch me live on Twitch with the new set, messing around with the cards, trying to brew some stuff and figure out what's up, because there's a lot to figure out really. This is the most challenging and overwhelming set for me to figure out and like find new things and try new things in, because there's a lot of potential that isn't super obvious, I think. So yeah, exciting times. And we have another ECQ on the horizon that we need to figure all these things out for. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notification icon to catch the rest of the series and other content. I'll also try and manage to do the deck tech on the other deck that I myself and 2 other people that I worked with on the deck that Tobu ended up winning the ETS World Championship with. There was a bit of a mix-up from me in the video. The last deck tech was the deck that I mostly built by myself, and Tobu and Moosh and a few others played, and Moosh ended up top 8ing with. And the one that Tobu actually was playing was another deck that Rabbit, Patrick Dickman, and myself worked on for the ECQ the week before, and it served Tobu well in the ECQ and Worlds respectively. But more on that later in the deck tech. Anyway, you can also find me on social media over here and live streaming on Twitch later, so make sure to follow me on social media and Twitch to not miss out on it. You can also find all the social media information down in the description, so you don't have to type it up and can just click on the links. As easy as possible. Yeah, that's it again. One last thing, if you want to further support me and our awesome website eternaltitans.com, make sure to whitelist eternaltitans.com and YouTube. That would really mean a lot and help the website and the channel to grow and continue putting out content for you guys. So thanks for watching, everyone. This was the Defiance set review for the Fire cards, part 1. I'm your host, Manu S, and I'll be back tomorrow with part number 2. Stay tuned.